Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird. Happy Friday and welcome back to Wicca 303. Today we're talking about family matters because relatives. They can be the greatest thing since sliced bread, or they can be people who make you rethink your ethical stance about boiling others in oil, and everything in between. It doesn't matter if the family is perfectly united in both religion and politics, and for the record, I have never observed a family like that. Or if they are scattered to the ideological four winds, family can be challenging, and the festive season is a traditional time for all of the family's various differences to rise up to the surface and cause problems. And willow bark is just not going to be sufficient to deal with the ensuing migraine. Now, there's a Finnish proverb that states, closeness without conflict exists only in the cemetery. How true that is. I mean, and yet, where are we without our families, despite that conflict? Even if our immediate relatives are beyond the pale, and we have to admit, sometimes they are, we still stand on the shoulders of our ancestors. We are their living legacy, when the next generation that we've produced are our contribution to furthering that legacy. So, family matters, no matter who you are or what the condition of your immediate family is. Our pagan ancestors relied on family relationships in order to build tribes and later nations. The worst sort of betrayal was betraying your own kin. Pagan societies established marriage and strongly encouraged cooperative relationships within the family structure for the sake of survival itself. Now, in the modern day, it's not unusual for people of adult years to be able to financially support themselves without the outside aid of family. Although if the economy continues to get worse, that will change. But in that event, perhaps the silver lining is that families will once again learn how to have to band together out of necessity. We'll really have to work on resolving our differences then. Another thing to consider is that culture begins with the norms and customs of individual families. It actually does matter how children are raised, and it is the responsibility of parents to teach their children about their highest values and beliefs. In the case of the craft, I mean, there's obviously no guarantee that the children of a practitioner will inherit the ability to practice the craft or will have the inclination to do so. But it is nonetheless the duty of the parent to convey the ethical principles by which they practice and their philosophical worldview. This should not be a controversial statement. But the reality is that the idea of giving religious instruction to children does rub a lot of pagans the wrong way. Sometimes this is because they felt their parents forced their religion on them and they don't want to be overbearing towards their own children. And of course, you don't want to repeat a bad habit. And sometimes the issue is that the pagan or the witchy parent is just so deep into the broom closet that it just never enters their mind to pass what they've learned down to their children. It is perfectly normal for children to learn about spirituality and for that information to come via their parents. That has occurred in every human society since time immemorial. And the only reason why people are gun shy about it these days is because of personal hangups and because we live in a revivalist era in which pagan spirituality isn't the default option. The values and philosophy of paganism and witchcraft are nothing to be ashamed of. We have no reason to hang our heads or to apologize for what we believe or how we practice. And if we have truly experienced benefits from our ideas and our practices, then we would be sabotaging the next generation to not teach them what we have learned. Now, in the case of those who are young and who haven't had their families yet, now is the perfect time to think about these things. The morals and the habits of the person you marry and reproduce with will have a profound effect upon any children you have together, as will your own. Whether you come from a strong family or not, what kind of family do you want to raise? And are you thinking about that when you are choosing who to date? Now, this isn't to say that you need to scare potential partners off on the first date by talking about such things, but it is prudent to be choosy about the character of the people you go out with to start with, so that in the event a relationship ensues and becomes serious, you aren't suddenly having to consider the question of whether or not this is really a suitable person to share your life with and to raise children with. Successful marriages and families are built upon shared values. It isn't an absolute that both parties need to completely agree on religion and politics, but If there is common ground on that basis, it can help you sidestep a number of problems and it saves you a lot of arguments. Thinking long term about what will promote greater harmony within the family is a wise thing to do. And even when couples who are remarkably compatible, they're still going to encounter their share of troubles. But if there's commitment, honor, love, and shared values, then they can build marriages and families that can endure any difficulties that come. So, our homework for December 22nd through December 28th, journal about the state of your family, the one you were raised in, the one you are raising, the people who are as good as blood relations to you. What is the actual state of things? Journal about that. Number two, meditate about how your family affects your spirituality and your magic, because I guarantee you that they do, whether or not you've consciously realized it or not. And number three, consider brewing a potion intending to strengthen the relationships within your household. This would be an excellent opportunity to get out the crock pot because it is an electric cauldron. You cannot change my mind. And put a good assortment of herbs, whatever ones you deem appropriate for your situation, and just have that permeate the atmosphere of the household and allow that to affect everyone there. So that is what I have for you this week. Next week, we'll be talking about seasonal witch keeping as we move into January and the new calendar year. So I hope you'll be back for that. In the meantime, comments, questions, concerns, complaints, as per usual, can go into the comments section below, or you can email me all about it at brigantiablackbird@protonmail.com, and I'll respond to you there. But I think that'll do it for now, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.